So today's tutorial is going to be on this bat, and my pattern is called Bats Gone Batty. And instead of doing the tutorial in this black yarn, which is extremely hard to see, this would not be a good thing for beginners, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to make it in this peach with the yellow front wings. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Darlene and this is Heartfelt Crochets, and this is where I research, I study, and I share all things crochet. So if at the end of this video you have found it to be helpful, will you please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Okay, so for today's tutorial, we are making this Bats Gone Batty, and he's in black and mango, but for today's tutorial, because it's so hard to see in the black yarn, I am going to be crocheting him in this pretty peachy color. This is put out by Basix. It's Parfait Chunky, Premier Parfait Chunky Chenille yarn. And it is in the color peach. I said peachy color, I didn't realize it was peach. Okay, so the wings, I am going to be using Parfait Chunky Chenille in the color yellow. Can't get much more basic than that. And then we're going to need a 5mm crochet hook, pair of scissors, stitch marker, and then we are using where'd the other eye go? Uh-oh. Okay, so I know I have it around here somewhere. So this is a 15mm eye. And we're going to need some Poly-fil stuffing. And that's it. I just need to find my eye and we'll get started. All right, so we are going to start with a magic ring. And then we're going to pull that magic ring almost all the way closed. And now we are going to single crochet 6 inside of this magic ring, and I'm going to hold this tail along the circle as I go and crochet right over the tail, and that way we won't have to worry about weaving it in after. Okay, so 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then in the very first stitch that we made in the magic ring, we are going to place 2 single crochets, and then we're going to put our stitch marker in the first stitch that we just crocheted. Now we're going to pull this a little tight just to make sure. There we go. And then we're going to cut that and get it out of the way. Okay. So now in the next 5 stitches, we are going to continue with the increases. So 2 single crochets in this next stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the next, 2 single crochet increase in the next, and again, whoop, come on, so 2 in that one, and then in the last stitch 2 single crochets. Now you should have a total of 12 single crochets around. For round 3, we are going to single crochet in this first stitch and place our stitch marker. And then in the next stitch, we are increasing. So 2 single crochets in that next stitch. And then 1 single crochet in the next stitch and a 2 single crochet increase in the next. And we are going to continue with that sequence around until we meet the stitch marker. Okay. So 1 and then increase. 1 and in the last stitch increase. Okay, now for round 4, we are going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then increase in the next, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and a 2 single crochet increase in the next stitch, and repeat that sequence until you reach your stitch marker. So 1, 1, and then 2, 1, 1, and increase. And then one last time, single crochet in the next, and 2 single crochet in the last stitch. All right, so now for round 5, we are going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then you are going to increase in the next stitch, and then single crochet in the next 3. And then now we are going to crochet a bobble in this next stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So it's like crocheting a double crochet, but you're not finishing, okay? And then do it again, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And then do that one more time in the same stitch, and you should have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Now don't miss that very first stitch after the bobble. We are going to single crochet and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches after that. And now we're going to create another bobble in the next stitch. Four loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then increase in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then increase in the next stitch. And then do that one more time. Single crochet in the next 3, and then increase in this last stitch, and that completes row 5. Now you want to push your little bobbles out the other way, okay, because this is the outside of the body. Okay, now for round 6, we are going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then single crochet in the next 3, and then increase, and then one single crochet in the next 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, and then right behind the bobble 4, and then right behind the bobble, the next stitch, we are going to increase, so 2 single crochets in that stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and then these 2 stitches behind the bobble. So that's 3 and 4. And then an increase in the next stitch. And then 1 single crochet in the next 4. And increase. And then 1 single crochet in the next 4. And increase. And then just finishing off with 1 single crochet in the last 3 stitches. Now for rounds 7 and 8, we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around, and at the end you should have 33 single crochets. It's 30, 31, 32, and 33. And then we're going to do that one more time, all the way around, 1 single crochet in each stitch, still having 33 single crochets when you have finished making it around to your stitch marker. 32 and 33. So that completes round 7 and 8. Now for round 9, we are going to begin decreasing. So we're closing up this body a little bit. Okay, so we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease. So it's under the front loop of the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through those 2 front loops, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. That's called an invisible decrease, so that you don't end up seeing this big hole by single crocheting 2 together. Okay, so we are going to repeat that 4 more times. So single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then decrease, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, decrease, and then you are going to single crochet in the last 5 stitches. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so for round 10, we are going to single crochet in the first 3 stitches. Replace your stitch marker in that very first stitch made. And then we are going to decrease. And then we are going to repeat that 4 more times. So that's 1, 2, 3, and decrease. 1, 2, 3, and decrease. 1, 2, and 3, and decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, and decrease. And then we are going to single crochet in the last 4. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now round 11, we're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. Replace your stitch marker in the first stitch. And then we're going to decrease. And then we are going to do that 5 more times. 1, 2, and decrease. 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 Okay. Now you should have 18 stitches. So now we are going to 1 single crochet, decrease, 1 single crochet, decrease, all the way around. Okay, so this is 1 single crochet. Decrease. 1 single crochet and decrease. 1 single crochet and decrease. And you just continue that till you get to your stitch marker, just the same thing, repeating 1 single crochet and then decrease. Okay, so we're at the end to get 1 final decrease. And now we are going to stuff our body. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and pull out some stuffing. And I like to break it up just a little bit. Okay. And just start adding stuffing inside your little body for a pretty good firmness, and trying to get it even all the way around. So as you add the stuffing, just make sure that you keep going around evenly. And you can tell as you go, you can feel it and look at it and see if it looks a little lopsided or not. And just kind of pack it in around. I'm going to add just a little more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we are going to remove our stitch marker. And we are just going to crochet 6 decreases all the way around. So you're going to decrease and replace your stitch marker in that stitch. Decrease. And again. And you should have a total of 6 decreases. Okay, and one more. Come on. There we go. I don't know if you can hear the microphone picking up the little chihuahuas out in the hallway of my apartment. We're just going to cut the yarn and we're going to pull that through. And then we are just going to go through the front loop only. Around 6 times. And one more. And then we're going to pull that closed. And then we're just going to fish that through. There we go. And then you're going to cut that yarn. Okay, so now we have our little body, and then we're going to crochet the head that we're just going to sew on top of that body when we are finished. Here's our little feet. Now we are going to crochet the head, and we're going to create another magic ring. Pull that almost all the way closed, and we are going to crochet 6 single crochets in this magic ring, just like we did for the body. So that is 1, 2, and we're crocheting over the tail, so hold the tail against the ring. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull that circle closed. And then we are going to increase for row 2. So we are going to single crochet 2 in this first stitch of the second round, and we're going to place our stitch marker in that first stitch we just crocheted. Then we are going to crochet 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 2 in the next stitch, and again, and one more time in the last stitch, and you should have 12 single crochets. Now for round 3, we are going to single crochet in the first stitch and place your stitch marker back into that first stitch, and then 2 single crochet, increase into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next, 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and then 1, and then 2, and then just repeating that sequence for the rest of the round. Okay, one more time. 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the last stitch. That was round 3. Now for round 4, we are going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches, place our stitch marker back into the first stitch, and then we're increasing in the third stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Again, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then an increase of 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And you're just going to continue that until you reach your stitch marker. Okay, and then one more time. 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet increase in the last stitch. That completed round 4. Now for round 5, we're going to do the same thing, only this time we are doing 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then increase, and then 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and increase, and then you're going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, in the first stitch, replace your stitch marker, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then increase, 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and increase, and repeat that, and I'll meet you back here at the end of the round by the stitch marker. And then in the last stitch, an increase of 2 single crochets in that stitch. Okay, so now for rounds 6 and 7, you are just going to 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around for the next 2 rounds, and you should have 30 single crochets in each round. So you can go ahead and crochet those 2 rounds, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around until you reach a stitch marker, and you do that for 2 rounds. I'll meet you back here. Okay, I am at the end of round 7, and these are the last 2 stitches of round 7. Okay, so for round 8, we are going to now start our decrease. So we're closing up our head. So we're going to crochet in that first stitch, replace our marker, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now, just like with the body, we are going to do an invisible decrease in the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Pull through those 2 front loops, and then pull through the 2 loops on the hook, and then a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And decrease, and single crochet in the next 3, and decrease, and just repeating that same sequence for the entire round. Decrease, come in, and then one more time, 1, 2, 3, ending with the decrease in the last 2 stitches. Okay, now so for round 9, we are going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. Replace your marker in that first stitch. Okay, and then in the next 2 stitches we are decreasing. And then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And decreasing. And again. And again. And again. And we're just repeating that for this round. Okay, and one last time, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and a decrease in the last 2 stitches. Okay, so now we're going to insert the eyes between rounds 5 and 6. Now this is the back, so we want to try to go as even as we can in the front. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in between 5 and 6, we are going to place our eyes, and we want to be able to see 4 stitches in between the eyes. Whoops. Oh, come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had it in the wrong spot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. Let's see. That looks pretty good right there. So we're going to put our backings on, give it a push till we hear a snap. Oh, we felt it, but we didn't hear that snap. And then the next one. Oh, heard that snap. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of stuffing in the head before we continue. Whoops, I just dropped the remote to my studio light. Went crashing down. I'm sure you probably heard it. So just like we did with the body, we're just going to go around and make sure that it's nice and even, distributed evenly. Okay, and then for round 10, we are going to single crochet in the first stitch and replace our stitch marker, and then we are going to decrease, And we're going to do the same, just single crochet in the first stitch and decrease. I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay. That was for a total of 6 times. Okay, decrease in the last 2. We're going to add a little bit more stuffing. You want to make sure it's packed pretty good so that you don't end up having this point at the top of the head. Okay. Now we are just going to decrease around 6 times. So in the next 2 stitches, we're going to decrease, and then we're going to place our stitch marker in that stitch. And then continue decreasing for this whole round for a total of 6 times. So that's 3. That's 4. That's 5. And 6. Okay, now we are going to cut a very long tail because we're going to use it for sewing. And we're going to pull that through. I'm going to remove that stitch marker. And usually I end up using a yarn needle to just sew in the front loops only. But I didn't grab a yarn needle this time, so what we're just going to do, like just what we did with the body, we're going to do the same thing with the head. And we are just going to pull it through the front loops of the 6 stitches around. That was 2. It's 3. Come on. 4. 5. And 1 more. And that's 6. And then we're just going to pull it and cinch it closed. So that's our head, and we're going to be sewing that to the top of the body. And now I am going to need that yarn needle, so I'm going to go grab that. All right, so now we are going to make 2 ears. So we're going to start with a magic ring. And we're going to pull that ring almost all the way closed. And now we are going to single crochet 4 inside of that magic ring. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we are going to single crochet in the first stitch. And it's going to want to curl in on itself, so you want to make sure that you pop that out. We're going to pull that ring closed. Place your stitch marker in that stitch you just crocheted. And then now we are going to increase in the next stitch. So 2 single crochets in that second stitch. And then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And then 2 single crochets in that last stitch. Okay, then we are going to increase 6 times. So 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and replace your stitch marker in the first stitch you just crocheted. And then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 2 single crochet increase in the next stitch, and then the next, and again, and one last time in this last stitch. And you should have 12 single crochets. Now for row 4 and 5, you're just going to single crochet around in each stitch for 12 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's 7. That's 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the last one is 12. And you're going to do that one more time around. Whoop. That's 6, so that's halfway. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, I questioned myself when I had said 6 and then there was only 5, so I didn't count the one that my stitch marker was in. Okay, so for round 6, we are going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. So that's 1, and then single crochet in the next stitch. And then we are going to do an invisible decrease. And then we're going to do that 2 more times. So a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And a decrease. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And pull out some yarn here. And then a decrease in the last 2 stitches. And then now we are going to leave a long enough tail because we're going to need it for sewing the ear onto the head. So just leave a good sized tail. And you're going to pull that through and remove your stitch marker. And that is 1 ear. And you're going to go ahead and you're just going to repeat that for the second ear. And you can rewind to the beginning of this chapter below the video and just redo this for the second ear. And now we're going to move right along to the wings. Okay, so now we're going to make the wings. We are going to make 2 of the same thing in peach and then 2 of the same thing in yellow, and then I'll show you what you do with the 4 pieces afterwards. But for the wing, that's quite simple. We're going to start by chaining 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Then in the second chain from the hook, you're going to single crochet and then single crochet all the way down to the end. So you should have 10 single crochets. So that's 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 6, 7, 8, whoops, 8, 9, and the last one is 10. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to single crochet in that first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that'll be a total of 8 single crochets. And we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. And then we're going to single crochet across in all 8 stitches. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let me pull out a little yarn here. I thought I pulled up enough, but I guess I didn't. Okay. Then we are going to chain 1 and turn. Now we are going to single crochet in 6 of the stitches. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we are going to chain 1 and turn and single crochet in those 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then chain 1, turn, and now we are going to single crochet in 4. 2, 3, and 4. And then you are going to chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet in those 4. Okay, so I went ahead and I made a yellow one. Now I went ahead and I made this wing by placing the yellow one over the orange one. And the wing is facing this way. Okay, now in order for this to face the opposite direction, if we was to flip it over and it was facing this direction, now we have the orange on the inside. So all you gotta do is hold it just like you did for the other one, and then now just take the yellow and put it behind the orange. Single crochet all the way around so that when you flip it over when you're done, now the wing is in the right direction and they both match with the back side of the wing, the peach, and the inside of the wing, the yellow. So to single crochet them together, I already cut the yellow yarn and I left the peach yarn uncut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 and then I'm going to turn and I am going to single crochet in each stitch of both pieces all the way around. Okay, so in those 4 single crochet across the top. Now you want to make sure that you don't end up skipping any rows. So make sure that this row right here, you go in right here. And then the same with this back side. And then you would go into this next space. And all the way down these steps, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to make sure that you go into the corners. And then go into the single crochet stitches on the next 2 on the step. And then don't just jump to this big space you see. You have to get right in here. And then right in here. And then in that big space. And then in the corner. And then in the next 2 single crochet stitches on the next step. I'm calling these steps. Okay. And then the same thing, don't want to skip this row. And then into the larger space. Whoops. And then into the corner. Into these 2 single crochet stitches on this last step. Let me pull out some more yarn. It's twisted. Get that wing out of there, wrapping around. Come on. Okay. And now we are going to go right in this corner. And then in each stitch that was the initial chain stitch across the bottom. So just do your best to line them up and just crochet in each one across. And now to get these out of the way, these little tails, you can just tuck them right inside the wing. You can cut them, but then you're taking a chance on that coming undone. So tuck them right inside your wing and there'll be no chance of that. Just give it a little extra security. Okay, so there. Yeah. And then in the corner, and then do your best to just join evenly down the side. Okay, couple more stitches, and then go into this first stitch and slip stitch, and make sure you cut a nice really long tail for sewing it on the back, the bat's back. Okay, and then pull that through. Now when you take a look at your wings, they're facing the right direction. The back side is peach. The inside is yellow. We have our 2 ears. We have our body, and we have our head. And now it is time to assemble the bat. The first thing that we are going to do is sew the ears onto the head. So we're going to count 1, 2 rows down, and make sure when you fold the ears that the tail is on the outside, okay? And, you know, if it ends up being this way, then just go ahead and maneuver it until it's folded in half and the tail is on the outside. Then we are going to line this edge to the between the second and the third row of the head. Okay, and 1, 2, 3 rows is what we're going to connect it to. So this one's going to be between this edge is going to be between rows 1 and 2, and then this edge is going to be between rows 5 and 6. And then you're going to kind of want to try to cup it a little bit. So it's going to be sewn out like this. Okay? That's the best that I can explain it. I can't really show you how I'm going to sew it because I'm going to be turning this head up and down and back and forth while I'm sewing. So just try to keep these things in mind. This edge is between 1 and 2, the second and third row, and then this edge is between the 5th and 6th row, and you're going to try to keep it cupped like that. So it's a little bit of an indentation. So it's going to end up being sewn in a little bit of an arch. So go ahead and do the best that you can, and when I'm finished my 2 ears, I'll come back. All right, so I did want to mention, once you get your ear on there and you have the remaining tail, what you're going to do is just kind of weave in and out of the back of the ear just to give it a little bit of extra security. Okay, and then you're going to come down in at the bottom of the ear and out the bottom of the head and pull it out through. And then you're going to cut. Make sure you don't mix it with the tail that you're going to crochet the head on the body with. So then you're going to cut that yarn. Okay, and then do the same on the opposite side and make sure that the same amount of stitches is between, make sure that these rows are even, and make sure that there's the same amount of stitches between the eyes. Okay? Okay, now it's time to sew the head on the body, and we're using this long tail to do so. And the way that I like to do it is, when you set the head on the body, make sure that it's lined up correctly facing the front and the 2 legs. You don't want it sideways unless you do want it looking to the side. But then I want you to take note on which row you are going to sew it to. And you could place a stitch marker, okay, in that row so you know that it's between 2 and 3. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to know that you're going to be crocheting it right about here. I mean, sewing it right about here. So that's going to end up being between row 2 and 3 as well on the bottom of this. Okay, so a little quick tip, if you want, you can go ahead and you can place stitch markers around that row to make sure that you stay right where you're supposed to be when you're sewing across. And you can do the same thing, place stitch markers around the head too, so that you know that you're going to end up sewing exactly where you're supposed to. Just a little extra tip. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back when I am finished sewing mine together. So you want to hear something funny? You know, at the beginning of the video when I was telling you what we needed and I couldn't find the other eye? Well, I just went to pick up this bat and turn it over so that I could look at the placement of the wings, and look, that eye is stuck in the back of that bat's head. Well, I found it anyway. That's funny. I'm like, what the heck? It's got an eye in the back of its head. That'd be scary if we came across a bat that actually did, huh? All right, so in looking at this bat and refreshing my memory, we want to leave quite a little bit of gap in the back. So this is the back side of our wings. So you kind of want to hold them in position and make sure that you have them right. And then you're going to place them on the bat, and you're going to put them probably about 3 stitches apart on the back of the head. And then you're going to come down, keeping it a little bit of a bigger space in the middle, so that when those are sewn, they should be placed just about like that. And make sure that they kind of have the same distance. So again, let's take some stitch markers. Let's just take a few here. And we are going to place this one right about we'll say about 2 stitches over from the edge of the ear, and kind of just attach a stitch marker to the top of that wing and to the body so that you know where you're gonna start sewing it. And then take your other wing and do the same thing, about 3 stitches in between, about 2 stitches over from the ear. That looks about good. And then we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, oh, actually this one has to go over one. What about here? Okay, then you want to tuck them a little bit. Try to make them as even as possible, and just place a stitch marker where you think that you're going to sew it together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Come on, get under there. Just to give yourself a little bit of an idea on where you're going to be sewing this. Okay. Okay. Right about here. And right about here. All right, so once you get your bat wings placed approximately where you want them to be, then just go ahead, oh, look at that. Okay. Use your long yarn tails and just sew your wings on the body. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've sewn my bat wings on. Now there's another thing that I wanted to show you. You can leave it floppy like this if you want to, or you can secure it a little bit like I did this one. And all you have to do is once you finish sewing your wing on, then you're just going to go ahead and you're going to, from this corner, you're going to fish your yarn needle down and through and up to the middle area. And then you're going to hold that wing and you're just going to stick the needle right in the middle of the wing. Okay? And then you're going to come on this back side and you're just going to choose an area that's right close by so that you don't end up having this big gap of yarn. You're just going to stick it in and come back out through the middle somewhere. Okay. Now you want to do that same thing down here. So you're going to do the same thing and you're going to kind of just stick it in anywhere, come back out through the bottom part of the wing somewhere, just randomly anywhere. You're going to pull that through and then again down through the bottom somewhere. And that just gives it a little bit of a snug so it's not all loose. Then what you're going to do with this tail is you're going to just stick it back in the body, come out the bottom, and I did the same thing with this tail on this wing. And then you're just going to end up snipping off those ends. That is our cute little bat. But now we're not finished. Now we have to make the fangs. So we're going to grab our piece of white worsted yarn and we are going to thread our darning needle. And I'm going to use this one for reference. And I'm going to come out from the side and I'm going to come right to the edge of the eye, about the second row down from the eye. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail down here. Then I'm going to come down to the next row and I'm going to try to come at a little bit of an angle to make a fang. All right, so it's going to end up being probably right about here. And then it's going to come up probably right about in here somewhere. And let's take a look and see. We're going to put this back in, come back out the same spot. And that is our first fang. Now we're just going to come across to approximately right about here, insert our yarn needle, and let me turn him upside down. So right about here, I'm going to turn him upside down. Let's see. It's going to be right about this one right here. Okay. And then we're going to come up in an angle, so right about here, and come up right here at the end of this line. And then we're going to come back down to where this point is. And we're going to come out where we initially put the yarn in on the side of the head. And we're going to take a look at that and see. Let's loosen this a little bit. If you end up pulling it too tight, before you tie it in a knot, you want to make sure that you loosen it as much as you need to. that looks good. So then now what we're going to do is cut these so that they're even. And we're going to tie this in a knot. Come on, get under there. And then we're going to take our yarn needle and in that same area as the knot, we're going to insert our hook and just come out the back side of the head somewhere. And then now we're going to thread the yarn needle. If you can keep your needle sturdy so it doesn't want to keep turning on you. Okay, so that's that one. And that one. Okay, so once you get your needle threaded with that yarn, you're just going to pull that quick. And then once again, you're going to come back and you're going to play with this and just loosen it a little bit. There we go. That's good. Okay. It's cute. And then we're going to snip that yarn. It's a little bit hard to see the white fang on the peach yarn, but you can't really make it any other color because the teeth are white, right? Leave a comment below and let me know how yours came out and what you thought of this pattern. Please be honest, because I want all the feedback that I can get. And until next time, bye.